Hello my friends, welcome to the MK Mobile video that I promised you a few days ago. We are gonna do the gear review, the rare gear review today. I see a lot of people using the wrong gear in the wrong situations. A lot of new players don't realize which gear is actually much better than the other. Some rare pieces at Fusion 0 are better than other rare pieces at Fusion X. Fusion 9 maybe. So we're gonna go through every single rare piece of gear in the game, because rare pieces of gear is the pieces of gear that you're gonna be getting first. You're probably not gonna be getting a lot of epics in the beginning, or ever, because the towers are difficult, and Faction War Store takes a bit of time to max out some epics. But anyway, let's start. I'm gonna separate all the cards by tiers. First of all, there's A tier. Best of the best, top of the crop, absolutely best rare pieces in the game that if you have, you need to use, man. And if you're not, what are you doing, man? Use them! So tier A or S tier, absolutely godly rare pieces. We're gonna start with, in my opinion, the best rare piece in the entire game. We're not counting tower gear. Again, just a basic rare piece. Absolutely best, in my opinion, is gonna be the Rusty Chainsaw. Look at this piece of gear. I'm gonna compare him when they're maxed out, and I'm gonna give him a rate when they're not maxed out. This piece of gear, obviously, when it's not maxed out, it's gonna be just like any other unblockable piece of gear. So let's just compare maxed out rare gear. Unblockable chance and basic attacks, in my opinion, is absolutely the best thing you can ever have on a piece of gear. So that's one of the reasons why this piece of gear is number one. And then you have reduced power cost and special attack too. Again, one of the best things you can have on a gear. There is not that many pieces that can do that. And have both of these things on the same weapon. On a weapon! So you have your accessory slot empty, because the rest of the gear that gives you 50% off of Special 2 are accessories. So now you can use something else as an accessory. But in my opinion, Rusty Chainsaw is the best basic rare piece of gear in the game. And it definitely deserves probably S+ tier. Now, another piece that is very close to Rusty Chainsaw, and one probably of the best pieces in the entire game, is Endoskeleton Arm. It has 35% health boost and reduced power cost and special attack too. So as you see the pattern, reduced power cost and special attack is amazing, and having a health boost together with it is just incredible. This piece of gear is amazing. It deserves a solid S tier. And if you're playing Terminator, basic attack damage boost is insane, so this piece of gear is double good in Terminator. Another piece of S gear I would have to name a Vial of Infinite Blood. You see the pattern, guys. Unblockable pieces are so good, and this one has unblockable as an accessory. The only rare card that has unblockable chance on basic attacks as an accessory, and it has chance to apply bleed on combo ender, which is insane. You're gonna be dotting people, you're gonna be unblockable. Like, this can be, some people would argue that this is better than Rusty Chainsaw, but I would argue that you don't want bleeds old. Okay, if you put this on Scarlet, it's definitely better than Rusty Chainsaw, because healing by bleeds, god damn, that's such a powerful ability. But on most of the characters, I feel like Rusty Chainsaw is gonna have a little bit more utility. Unless you have a garbage special 2. Some characters have pretty bad special 2s, like Mournful Kitana. So if you don't want, if you're mostly going to be using special 1s, then this is probably a better piece of gear. Again, they all are in the same tier. They all god tier, god rare tier. I think I'm going to put one more piece in this category, and it's going to be Soul Medallion. It has reduced power cost and special attack 2, which is incredible, and power generation boost, which is also very useful. Power boosts in this game are insanely powerful, so you want a gear like that. I think this deserves solid place in the S tier. I think I'm also gonna put Shao Kahn's helmet in the S tier, because first of all, look at that health boost and critical hit chance boost. It's definitely one of the best armors, if not the best armor in the entire game, and it's the only armor that I put in God tier. I think it deserves it. For 40% critical hit chance boost is just mind-blowing, and additional health boost is such a good bonus, and on Shao Kahn this is absolutely ridiculous piece of gear, but it's also good on anybody. So good. Alright, I think we're done with our S tier category. These pieces of gear, in my opinion, are absolutely best of the best. I might have forgotten some piece. Guys, I'm gonna go through all of them, and I reserve the right to change the ranks of some pieces of gear later. Let's move to the A tier, the tier that is incredibly useful, and you are super lucky to have those pieces. And the first piece in the category is gonna be Subtlety 2. Because we have recovery boost, which is honestly used to be garbage, but now is incredibly useful. Some may argue this is even better. Like, again, it's all situational. In certain situations, like, for example, for survival, Heaven Recovery is insanely useful. It's probably, arguably, even more useful than Power Generation. So, and it all depends on your support cards. Obviously, if you have a lot of recovery support cards, this is going to be multiplied even more, so it's going to be even more value. And for Johnny Cage, it's a really good piece of gear, but even on any other character, it's gonna be insanely good piece of gear. Subtlety 2. Next, we're gonna go for Stormhead. I actually, like, if you asked me a week ago which tier I would put Stormhead, I would probably put it in the B tier at the best. But it's the only armor that has power generation gear, so it can be very useful. Okay, actually, never mind. I'm not gonna put it in A tier. No, it doesn't deserve to be in A tier. That's the only good thing about it. So it's not. No, sorry, you're out. I'm gonna be honest. Some pieces I don't even know what they do. Like, what does Shaolin Bow do? Again, pieces that have something like damage boost against bleed or poison are so situational that it's not, then they don't deserve to be in the top tier. So the next piece that I'm gonna put in A tier is gonna be Sentinel Blade. Unblockable chance of special attacks again, on basic attacks, again, in my opinion, absolutely the best. And if you're fighting anywhere, you have to have at least one unblockable piece of gear on you. It's just a must in the current meta. In the tower, in the faction wars, if you have any, put them on. Fusion 0, Fusion X, any fusion. This one also gives you some additional damage, but only in faction wars, so it's a little bit situational. But I feel like every single unblockable piece of gear deserves to be in the A tier, just because of the unblockable. So we're gonna put revolvers the same place. Unblockable chance and critical hit chance boost is definitely better. So I think revolvers is definitely better than Sentinel Blade, but every single unblockable piece of gear deserves to be in the A tier. Red Headband definitely deserves to be in the red tier. For Liu Kang, it has recovery, power generation. Even if you don't put it on Liu Kang, both of those things are incredibly useful right now. In survival, you're gonna be dominated, but if you put this on Liu Kang, my god, he is gonna be insane. Definitely an A piece of gear. Then we have, let's see. Well, Kintaro's Tiger's Eye actually is insane on Kintaro. It has basic attack damage boost against bleed and poison, and chance to apply bleed on basic attacks, which is insane. It's so good for Kintaro, but not good enough to make it the A tier in my opinion. Let's see. Bound Demon, I think, deserves to be in the A tier. We get healing on special 2, power generation boost, and for Quan Chi, it's probably one of the best pieces of gear. Absolutely incredible. Again, Bujitsu stuff is great, but only on Jade. I wouldn't put it on anybody else. Bladed Fan definitely deserves to be in the top spot. You can heal on special 1, and you have unblockable chance. Alright, I think these are all pieces that deserve to be an A tier. There's a bunch of tower gear, but we're not gonna go into it today. Now let's move to the B tier. B tier is really useful unless you have A tier, basically. They're still insanely good, but not as good as A tier. So I would put there every single piece of gear that has health as an armor. So I'm gonna put Saurian armor in there. Definitely solid B tier. It has health boost and recovery boost, which is amazing. Actually, it might even deserve to be A tier. Recovery, again, depends on what you're doing. If you're doing survival, this is definitely A tier piece. For other modes, it might be a B tier piece. We have definitely Respirator. Critical damage and lethal blow damage reduced by so much. This is so good for Faction Wars. Mostly because it's such a good counter against Dark Emperor Liu Kang. If you put this on your starter character, there's a high chance Liu Kang won't be able to just one-shot your first character, which is a huge deal in survival. Power Glove, definitely solid B tier. Health boost and chance to reflect damage when blocking, pretty decent, not too crazy, but pretty okay. Military Vest, the same thing, B tier, because it has some good health and protection against critical hits, which is also very good. Haki Mask, in my opinion, absolutely beautiful, especially for Jason. Health boost and chance to reflect basic attacks again when blocking, so basically it's the same as Power Glove, unless you're using it on Jason. Earth Elemental Face Mask is definitely solid B tier. Resistance to all debuffs can be very useful, especially in the current tower. Some battles you have to have it on to have a slightly more chance not to get frozen or stunned by the missile. And power generation boost is always welcome, so solid B tier in my opinion. I would say every single piece of gear that also has basic attack, 50% basic attack damage increase. Like, I think Barature's Flask? Oh no, this one has critical hit chance boost and chance to apply cripple an active enemy. Honestly, not impressed. This is gonna be a C tier, guys. I'm sorry. Combat Knife has basic attack damage boost and damage boost in Faction Wars, so I think it can also be. I can put it in B tier. Things like Freddy's Glove. It's actually pretty decent. It has critical hit chance boost and damage boost in Faction Wars, so it's really good for Faction Wars. Maybe deserves to be in B tier. Ice Daggers for basic damage boost and a little bit of critical hit chance against enemies affected by freeze, but this is... I mean, it's good for Sub-Zero, but not for much other characters. Now, C tier are gonna go all the pieces that have recovery as the main stat, but pretty bad as second stat. So this is really good for Dvora, but for most, again, when I'm judging a piece, I'm looking at it from perspective of putting it on any character. A lot of pieces are going to be insanely good if you put it on the character that they belong to, but for most of the characters, this is not going to be that much useful. But if you want to max out recovery, it's nice to have recovery. So this is solid C tier. Kintaro's Tiger's Eye is gonna be on a C tier. No, actually it's a B tier because it's basic damage attack boost and a pretty decent third attack. Kabujitsu Blade also B tier because it has basic attack damage boost, which I think is pretty useful. You can output a lot more damage. And a little bit of healing as well, pretty good. Razor Sai, critical chance boost damage against bleed and poison. Again, on certain characters it can be very good, so I would put this piece of on C tier. Every piece of gear that has something against enemies affected by bleed or poison probably gonna be C tier. Something like Sacrificial Knife. Actually, this one probably goes to B tier because it has basic damage boost. Shaolin Bow. Yeah, C tier, solid C tier. Shiraire Kunai. Very good for Scorpion, but for the most part it's a C tier for the most for the other characters. Storm Hat, I'm gonna give it C tier just because it has power generation on an armor, which is pretty good. Darkatan G, C tier, definitely C tier. And the D tier, the last tier, the worst pieces of rare gear in my opinion, are gonna be the pieces that have toughness or X-ray boost as their main stat. For example, give me a second to find an example. There's not that many of them actually. Freddy's glove? No, Freddy's glove is actually... Oh yeah, we put it on a C tier, I think. Dragon Fangs? Yes. 15% X-ray fatal blow attack damage boost. In my opinion, most of the time you're not going to be using X-rays. There's certain teams that this can benefit. X-ray teams, teams with a lot of power generation. But most of the time, you will not be using X-rays, so... This is not a good... This is definitely a D tier piece of gear. I don't think I ever use it unless I just have to put something, but it's just... It barely does anything. Cybernetic arm, toughness. I mean, come on. Toughness, it doesn't do much. Toughness is good again for certain characters, like Kitana, Jax. Those characters have natural high toughness, but if your character... You need to equip a lot of toughness pieces on a character in order for it to make a difference. If you have low toughness and you just put one toughness piece, it's not gonna do nothing. Literally garbage. This... Again, D tier, not using it almost anywhere. It's really good for Triburgs because of the resistance to debuffs, but it's a D tier for the everything else. But Jitsu stuff, going to a C tier unless it's Jade. Jade has to have Bujitsu stuff. She has to. It's an S tier for Jade, but C tier for everybody else. Barature's Flask. Oh yeah, we put it on a C tier, I think. Bladed Whips. Things that have chance to apply bleed to an active enemy, like at the start of the match when equipped on a starter character. For this you have Blaze's Life Force. Honestly, by the time you max out one of these pieces, you're probably gonna have at least one Fusion Zero Blaze's Life Force, which is gonna be better than this. And you only have one starter character, so I don't see the point. I honestly don't see the point. And Fatal Blow attack damage boost, useless. Bladed Hat, useless. Toughness boost, useless. This is D tier, guys. So yeah, we went through all the rare gear and 5 tiers, S, A, B, C, D. Let me know if you agree with my assessment, but I've been playing a lot of different gear lately, in survival, in the tower, and I probably don't touch C and D tier at all. There's literally uncommon pieces that I use more than C and D tier gear, but A, S, A, and B, you have to be using them. They're just so good, guys. So yeah, let me know in the comments, what do you think? What is your most used rare piece of gear and why? And I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe for more. Hopefully it's been helpful to somebody. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.